Hello guys, it's me, the Clifto, bringing you a guide to Fizz. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe because I will be doing a guide to every single champion. So it'll be helpful for you to find my videos faster. Let's start off with his abilities. His passive is Nimble Fighter, which gives him dexterity, which allows him to move through units of minions, so you don't get minion collision. And it also takes reduced damage from auto attacks. Because you are a melee fighter, this is good because you will be getting poked many times by auto attacks, so it's good to have a little bit of a resist toward it. It's a pretty good passive. But let's start off with his abilities that you should put a point onto. You probably should put a point into your first point should be into your E, which is Playful Trickster, which allows you to jump onto your trident and allows you to be unable to be attacked by abilities, auto attacks, turrets, even ignite ticks. It allows you to survive a lot of stuff. And also, if you activate it again, you'll do a second jump onto your trident to give a little bit more distance. It is a great way to be. It gives Fizz a lot of mobility to move around the map, to move. You can jump over ledges, so it allows him to move over some of them. You'll see me fail a couple of times showing some places where he cannot and can jump over. They are very small walls, so you probably should test out a few walls before going into a real game to figure out which walls he can and cannot jump over. It is a good ability because you get to negate it. It also does damage. Once the first time you come down, it does a big arrow effect, and it also will slow any minions or champions that were not killed with it. So you can do a lot of damage, and if you jump on the second time, it does a little bit less arrow effect damage, and it will not have the slow effect, but it still does retain the same amount of damage if you jump on it the first time or come down the second time. So it's a pretty good ability to get mobile. I find it very good to wave clear because you can do a lot of area effect damage, and especially when you get a little bit more AP. Not in the beginning. The AP is kind of pretty bad on him. Will not do that much damage in the beginning, but it will be very helpful. It's also great to take it first because, like that Ari, I didn't use it there, but if you got caught out by a champion, you have great mobility to get out of. And because he is very weak in the beginning game, a lot of people will try to poke him early, so you want to have something mobile to get him in and out of the fight. Next thing you want to put a point to is your Urchin Strike, which allows you to dash through the enemy champion or minion or a monster, anything that's not yours. You can jump through. You have to point and click, so you cannot. It's not a dash. It's not a free dash that you get to dash around like some champions have. You have to point and click. It will follow the enemy though. Later in the video, Tristana tries to jump away from me, and somehow the ability like turns around and still gets her. She calls hacks. It was funny. I like the ability. It's probably your biggest damage, not damage, but it's like what you're gonna assassinate most people with. Very good ability. The next thing you should put a point into is your W, which is Sea Stone Trident. It gives your auto attacks a little bit extra damage, so allows you to farm better. It also will apply a kind of like a bleeding effect, where they will take a percentage of their missing health as damage over time. It's pretty good at if they're walking away and they have like 90% of their health, it will tick down and pretty much kill them. So it's a pretty good ability, and also pretty good at farming minions. If you're farming them by yourself, if you have other minions, it can cause a problem because it could do a tick and not kill them, and then another minion could hit them, and it can mess you up. But still a good ability. If you activate it, it gives you a little bit bonus attack damage on your abilities, scaling off of ability power. It also applies grievous wounds. That means they will not. 50% of their healing will not happen. It's good because if you put it on while they're running away, and if they do end up getting away, you will still apply grievous wounds, and they will not be able to heal out of that many times, and it will get a good kill a lot of times. It did just earlier kill Ari while she was trying to run away. It is pretty good ability. Finally, you should put a point into your ultimate at 6, 11, and 16. Chum the Waters, which you throw a fish, and it puts a little pool around the champion that it hits. giving them a slow. It slows them down so they can't move really fast. And then a shark comes out dealing massive damage. It is a very hard, I find it a very hard skill shot to hit because it will not go the full distance unless you point the full distance. It will go the distance you want to. This is a good thing and a bad thing. Bad thing is it's sometimes hard to hit, so you kind of have to aim all the way through. It will stop on a champion. It won't go through a champion. So you will still hit them as long as they are in the way of the skill shot. But it's the reason why it's maybe a good thing is because if they're running away and maybe you have there's not a high chance of you hitting them, you can do a smart play by putting it on their escape route, and they will not want to hit the shark because it deals a lot of damage. So it's a very good ability. Very good ability at getting kills. Let's go into the combos, what you should do before you get level 6. You're very weak because you have no crowd control except for your maybe you're jumping on your trident and smashing down, but you're not slowing them. They'll be able to get away easily. You're not going to kill them too much. It's not going to do too much damage early game. But if you have a very helpful teammate and they give you blue buff early and you still don't have level 6, a good combo could be is you jump on your trident toward them, slam down, and then Q toward a enemy minion so that you take very minimum damage while you get the good poke in. It's not very advised because he is very mana hungry. But once you hit level 6, he has a great combo. You first should start off by landing an R or throwing it behind them so that it can't get away, slowing them or making it harder for them to allowing you to hit pretty much all your abilities. But if you hit them with the R, they are very slowed. Then you should probably E toward them. This allows you to gap close, do a lot of damage. If you're pretty close to them already, you can slow them even more after the shark comes up and eats them. And then you want to activate your W to apply extra damage. And then if they start running away, Q toward them to assassinate them. It's a very good combo. I use that. That's pretty much my basic combo most of the time. I may change it up a little bit. It may be even smarter to use your ultimate, then your Q, and then keep your E as a gap closer if they run away. Depending on the situation, you just got to know what you're going to do. Pretty good combo in the late game. You can pretty much assassinate any high priority targets, so like ADCs or AP carries. You can easily get them pretty easily if you use that combo because it does a lot of damage and you're going to be doing a bleeding damage as well. So let's start off with his build. You should start off his starting items as a Doran's Ring, 2 health pots, and a yellow trinket ward to be able to ward your lane so you don't get surprised ganked. Then the next two, the first item is very optional. You can choose 2 different ones. The main item and the item I choose in this one is I build toward a Lich Bane, building a Sheen first for the extra damage. Lich Bane is a very good item on him because if you play him and you don't buy Lich Bane, it feels like he needs, it's like he needs an extra ability. He needs one extra thing, something to deal damage, and the Lich Bane is kind of like that because what you can do is you can use an ability and then you can auto attack dealing massive damage, and then you can use an ability, massive damage ability, and you pretty much have assassinated even a tank if you keep doing it because you're going to be building a ton of ability power, making your Lich Bane super strong. I mean, there's no way you're going to be able to stop it. Very good ability. A good item, I mean. The next item, which you could actually do first, is a Zhonya's Hourglass. I wouldn't actually put that first unless you're going against an AD champion like a Talon, a Jace, or a Zed. I mean, that's a very good item first hand, so it gives you a little bit of mobility, gives you a bit of armor to stop them, but it's a very good second item because what happens is since you're a melee champion and you're jumping in on top of people will be focusing you pretty early if you're not into team fighting yet, and if you get into the team fighting, it's also a great item, but allows you to, if you get really weak, allows you to go into a stasis so that they can't attack you. It's kind of like having an extra E and you can actually E, and then Zhonya's Hourglass, just so that they can't attack you with if they're applying a lot of ability. But it also allows you to make plays, because if you go into the stasis and then your team hurts them up, then you can just Q, kill one of them, and get out, and it allows you to get your cooldowns afterwards, because you have not too long of cooldowns, and after the stasis, pretty much everything other than your ultimate will be back up. So it's a good ability if you need to use it. Next thing you should probably build is your Sorcerer shoes. They may not be building a magic resist to stop you. They may start it, but it also will apply a little bit extra damage, give you a little bit more speed to catch up to targets. Very good item. Gives you that whatever, the penetration, magic penetration. Very good item. The next thing you probably want to build is a little bit more damage. Now that you have a few ability items, the Rabadon's Deathcap will glow, not glow. It'll give a lot of extra damage to it, because if you build that first, the downside to it is you're not getting much out of its passive. You'll get maybe a little bit of ability power as its passive, but if you already have a bit of ability power, then it's a very good item, because it will boost it up, giving you maybe 40-50 other than maybe 20 if you build that first item. Gives you a lot of extra damage. And now the next two items you can build a lot of different ways. In a regular build, if they haven't built any magic resist, I would build a Deathfire Grasp to give you a little bit more assassinating power. What you would do is you would just jump to the back line, throw that on to the target you want to kill, so like the AD carry or the AP carry, assassinate them, and then half their damage is gone. Pretty much from a team fight, especially if they have a good Tristana. This Tristana is pretty fed because our bot lane had a little bit of problem, and I wasn't able to help out in the early game. I did end up showing up, but still had a bit of a problem. So the Tristana is a bit fed still. So taking her out will take out pretty much a lot of their damage, and the DFG will do pretty good because it'll take 15% of their health, and it'll also make your next abilities do more damage toward the enemy target. Another item you could build right after the Deathcap, or you can do it after the DFG, is a Void Staff, which will give you a little bit more magic penetration, because by the end of the game, they should build magic resist. If they don't, then they're stupid. But most teams, smart teams, will start building a Void Staff. An item that you can do instead of it is you can do a Banshee's Veil, so that when you first jump in, they will pop your bubble, but they will most likely block a very serious thing, because if you jump right in, a lot of times people will try to ultimate you to make you get destroyed real early, and you'll block a lot of those abilities. Another good item is a Guardian Angel, because you will be jumping in the middle of the fight. You'll be able to come back. You will be pretty much focused early unless you have the right team. So you want to be able to come back alive to apply even more assassinating power to clean up the team. It all depends on what you want. If you want to build more damage, you can build the Void Staff to penetrate. If you want to build a little bit more protection because you feel like you're getting hit, it all depends on what you want. So, what is Fizz very good at doing? Fizz is very good at getting at level 6, and you can pretty much, if you do not kill the person you're laning up against, you can easily, if you land your R and you do your combo, you can greatly push out the mid laner out of lane. And that's what Fizz loves, because then you can go, okay, top lane's having problems, but the jungler can't help, or maybe jungler needs to go to bottom lane, or you can even help gank top lane with the jungler. So it allows you to roam, and roaming is very good on Fizz. Allows you to get fed early, allows you to get extra kills, and it will piss off a lot of people, which is, it gets into the meta of fixing the mental part of the game. I mean, not the meta, but the mental part of the game. So, who counters Fizz? Or no. We'll say we'll start off with, let's start off with who counters Fizz. Who would you not want to play Fizz against? Most people would say a poke composition, because he has auto attacks. You can attack him from far away. That is a good option, but I mean, so the top two picks are normally a Syndra or an Orianna. would counter Fizz. The thing is I've played a bunch of games against them, and a smart Syndra would probably beat a Fizz, but a lot of times people, they don't recognize that you can just jump out of their ultimate. So way to do it is you pretty much bait them to use their ultimate, and then you jump on your staff, and while they use their ultimate, it will completely do no damage to you. So they don't really, most people say that's what counters him. Syndra counters him. Well, if you play against even a decent one, maybe a bad one, especially a bad one, they'll use their ultimate when you're low, and you can easily bait it out by jumping on your pole. They don't do any damage. You get out of the fight. They're weak because you did your combo on top of them. They have nothing to answer, and it kind of will stop them. The counters I find him is people that do his job. Like, the biggest counter is LeBlanc. She has high mobility, even more mobility than Fizz, and she has a great burst. Exactly what Fizz is they're both assassins, so to beat Fizz, you got to choose another mobile assassin. A couple other good picks are Zed, though Fizz can counter your ultimate. LeBlanc, he can't really counter LeBlanc's ultimate because LeBlanc's ultimate just repeats the last ability, so it's kind of harder to counter that, to know when the second ability is going to happen. Another good, decent person is a Katarina, but it's pretty much who's ever better at being that assassin, and who is allowed to roam to get those kills, because they're not really going to kill each other. They're just going to hurt each other, and then they're going to jump out. If the Fizz stayed out with a lot more life, wasn't killed, he can roam, go get kills. Pretty easy. Who does he counter? He doesn't have a hard counter. He doesn't counter too many people. He has a very weak early game. He doesn't really counter people. What he's good at doing is pushing people out of lane and getting fed off of the side lanes. If you're not able to get fed off the side lanes, Fizz will be pretty useless. So what's good? How do you build a team with him? A couple junglers that you should choose, which is a good idea, is to choose a jungler. Is junglers with CC, because Fizz has no real CC. He needs a jungler that can do it. A Jax is very good, and an Elise is very good. Them two are pretty good, because if they land their cocoon or their stun, Fizz can have a party and just pretty much two-shot them. They can't get away from it. They're dead. Easy junglers. So what about a team for team fighting? A good team fighting stage or team would be people that are good at initiating fights and getting people's attention early. The people that got my attention is who I thought was Jarvan. Jarvan's great at getting attention because he jumps up, puts a wall. He can put a wall around two people, and he can get primary targets that would be annoying that would affect Fizz and how affect his way of getting kills, and Jarvan can pretty much do it. Another good one would be Pantheon. They get their attention, and then Fizz, if they get into the back line, then the AD carry doesn't know where to stand, and then that confusion is what lets Fizz assassinate the primary targets, pretty much winning the team fight for your friends. Pretty good. That's so I mean, champions like Pantheon, Jarvan, people that can easily initiate fights or start a fight to make sure that it starts off at least in your way, will very well benefit Fizz. Fizz is a great champion. I actually don't really have a hard time playing him. He's a very easy champion, but I wouldn't recommend it to people unless they have very good coordination and also a gaming mouse, because you have to be able to react to people using stuff. So you have to be able to use the Zhonya's Hourglass and be able to click 3 and then 4 for your Deathfire Grasp. Kind of doesn't work unless you have a gaming mouse that allows you to stop it. So I mean, allows you to click the ability. So that's been my guide to Fizz. I hope you enjoy it. Please leave a comment of what you thought. This has been V Clifto, and I'm signing off. Stay cool, my friends.